you're up.
Hello, and welcome back to MGSR. Got you here for a nice showcase of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, the MGS2 Sons of Liberty on normal. I am Pythonicus, and I'm joined by Mr. Tyler 2022.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon.
So yeah, we're pretty much all ready to go. These two guys have done some spectacular work on this particular category. Tyler, you probably know more about it than I do. What kind of things can we expect from this?
Well, compared to your typical PC or PS3 run, this run has a lot of oddities, and especially with this version, because they're playing on the US version, which is known to have a lot of very specific strats, and I think we'll start to see some of those at the very beginning of Plant and some other things. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting run and a bit more game-breaking stuff going on, especially during the later parts of the game that you probably won't be used to the other games. So yeah, can't wait to see.
All right. So, without much further ado, let's get our racers ready to go, and we'll get this thing started.
Gentlemen, I'll have you indicate ready in the text channel.
That was a signal to go.
Okay. Honk if you love MGS2.
All right.
I got a ready
So
plywood. I got limes. You good?
Yeah, he's already.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin.
All right. So they are off. So of course, MGS2 going to be starting in the tanker, taking control of Snake, and going to be doing normal things, taking photos. You know, standard Metal Gear things, really.
Yeah, this first part is pretty similar to what you would expect from the other versions. Like, you don't really start to see the real oddities until the plant. There's only one real big oddity, and it's just because of a bug. Because for whatever reason, you can't hang over certain railings. So usually we would hang over a certain railing to get down to the engine room faster, but on this version you have to actually walk all the way around. So it's kind of weird.
Yep. So both runners going to be taking the standard normal approach on the entrance to the tanker, just kind of taking the eastern side, or is it the port side? Starboard. I am bad at ships. But yeah, they're going to take that entrance, roll into this cutscene trigger to kind of continue moving while they skip it, and it's a fairly gentle ascension up to the bridge.
Right here, though, things can get kind of interesting if you get caught by this camera. It's gonna be a bit slower, and D-Limes and Plywood both take the alert, so it's gonna kind of equal out a little bit here. But if you actually roll at a kind of specific time, you can actually just not get this alert, and then you don't have to worry about getting knocked down and such. And you see both of them get hit a couple times. So, but they were both pretty neck and neck going into Olga, and this is the first big part of the run where one could pull ahead just by randomness, because she can either start going to the left-hand side or she can walk in front of you. And if she goes to the left-hand side, then that's a bit faster.
Yep, and it's worth noting that again, these guys are playing on normal, which means that camera that they were trying to roll past on anything higher, it tends to kind of move around, whereas on normal it's stationary, so you have to make that really tricky roll. So looks like both of these guys got the left side.
I think Limes
Plywood?
got right.
Yeah, well,
Limes got right, and Plywood got left. And Plywood actually does get the loop, it looks like, so it's going to be a pretty healthy lead for Plywood. About 10 seconds, give or take.
Yep. That being said, even with the right side, Olga Limes is experienced enough in the game to know how exactly to manage that. So he's barely behind at all off of that.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. Like knowing how to deal with the bad Olga is just something very standard to do. And actually, most of the time, I kind of prefer it almost because I feel like sometimes I am more prone to mess up the loop than I am to just doing the slower strats. So sometimes I kind of want her to actually walk in front of me.
Well, the funny thing about Olga Loop is that even if you get her on the left side, it's prone to failure on anything lower than like extreme anyway.
Yeah, like it's weird. Like normal is just its own little weird thing, and I don't know. Like I just have trouble doing it on normal. And
Yeah,
as you were talking about before with the camera going down to deck C, it does not move, so you have to. So Plow was opting to hold up the guard and shoot out the camera. I think D-Lime is going to go for a little bit more of a trickier approach, holding up the guard
that
and rolling past him. But he did get shot, so I guess
a
he evens
very,
out.
very smooth maneuver there. Taking advantage of pretty much all of the nice little mechanics of the game.
Oh
And
no!
Lime's taking an alert. I think that might actually be intentional, so we can skip that mini
Just
cutscene.
Well, if he doesn't get knocked down here, I'd say it's okay. But he gets shot once, twice,
No,
thrice.
yeah, okay, well,
Four.
ooh,
Oh, and there's a guy here that's taking a
okay,
picture
yeah.
of his feet. Okay.
But yeah, it's an interesting idea for an optimization, and if you can manage your spacing with the guards, it has the potential. I can see the merit in it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I could see him going for that and see the blood trail little picture in picture because he is bleeding because he got hit so many times. So you don't see that too often.
So plywood
Double.
taking that shot to uh, kind of facilitate this cutscene skip without taking an alert, and very gently just taking out those sensors, and he's off into the holds shortly here.
Dylan's being very careful with the shots here. Doesn't want to blow up the ship, but I'm kind of worried for his health because he's pretty low. And while normal is very forgiving on your health, whenever you're this low, it can be kind of scary.
Yeah, definitely. And especially coming up on this next section, which is technically a boss fight, the ambush or the guard rush, whichever
Yeah.
you prefer. Plywood is currently playing with no radar, and Limes actually takes an alert to the first guard in deck 2, so he's in a bit more dire straits than even we thought.
Yeah, this is not looking good.
He's
he's
fighting his way out of it. He's showing his chops. Very well done. He does have to worry because there's guards that can come in from behind and shoot, but it looks like he's going to avoid that. Very nice way of fighting himself out of that corner.
And
Meanwhile,
on the verge of death here as well, and then yeah, Plywood starting the fight.
Yep. So on normal, these guys are going to take 3 shots to the body, or of course, 1 to the head, or I believe the groin would also work lethally.
Yes, correct.
And Plywood missing that second shot, but recovers nicely, and he's done with the fight. And Limes, damn near perfect ambush. He's actually still hot on Plywood's heels, just maybe a cutscene and a codec behind.
Yeah, not too far behind, and that could change here with the last part of Tanker, because can be prone to messing up in the hold here. And I think Limes has a little bit faster of a strat for hold 1. It actually holds up the projector guard. So that way he doesn't have to roll across that first noisy tile.
So Plywood is into hold number 2. Limes, of course, distracting everybody, getting that tiny little optimization. Whereas Plywood, go ahead and switch the projector in the second hold and hold up 3 specific guards. Very nicely done. He is pretty much home free. There's very little chance he'll mess up on hold number 3.
It's also worth mentioning that the frame rate drops quite a bit during this room in particular because of all of the Marines being loaded in. So movement can be kind of weird going through there. It kind of feels like you're almost going through like molasses.
Yeah, and for all of the issues that HDC has, thankfully they did definitely smooth out the frame rate in certain sections.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely had to. Ooh, that one should count as a front shot from D-Lines, but that was a little bit off to the left, so it should work though, but it looked kind of fishy. And of course, taking pictures takes a long time, as you can see. Like, yes, take the picture and then take a second to then put it into the camera. So another difference.
Yep, and
Okay.
plywood is good to go. Fantastic work. Very few little minor mistakes. So I'm pretty sure he'd be pretty happy with that during a race, and Limes as well, getting out of there. And another small change is that you can't actually skip this little
Very
outro.
patriotic. Yeah, the patriotic outro. We the Marines. So you have to watch that, and there's going to be a couple of cutscenes that we are going to be forced to watch. I think the next one's going to be in a Shell 1 core. Whenever we have to go find Ames, whenever Ocelot walks up to you, you have to wait the entire 10 seconds, which is just very strange. Now, this was the first release of the game, so stuff was changed in the later versions in the Japanese and in the PAL, but like this is kind of like version 1.0 essentially. Like the versions following, they fix a lot of the bugs because there are some bugs in this game that they had to fix specifically with like how the Stinger hitbox works and railings jumping over that, and then that in particular right there.
Right. So our racers are into the plant chapter now, which is going to be the vast majority of the game. Now they're playing as Raiden. They'll be cartwheeling Nilly Willy in an effort to save frames every single time, which does definitely add up. I believe you can shave about 5 minutes off with good rolling,
Oh
just
yeah.
from running.
And typically you want to do it during these long straightaways. You can do it at like certain angles, but it's a little more riskier. But typically, like if you see a long straightaway, like on some of these bridges, for instance, you definitely want to be like cartwheeling as much as you can because it is faster. And there was actually a recent strat found, but unfortunately, it only works on New Game Plant IL, to where you can skip one of the codecs by grabbing a ration. Very unfortunate that we cannot do it here, but only for New Game Plant IL, which is
That's
not ideal, of course.
like incredibly specific.
Yeah, so you essentially grab the ration shortly before or like whenever the like codec hits, and then it'll just cancel it out. But
Yeah.
the only other difference for this room is that the actual cutscene of the elevator coming down will not be skippable unless you are in a semi-alert phase where they see you and they're trying to call in for a backup. So you're going to see Plywood and Lems both do that in order to prevent that from happening, because having to wait for that and you can't do anything and you're out of control. So as you can see, he's going to get seen here. Take the alert, but he'll be all right.
That's a really nifty strat, actually.
Yeah, because if you didn't do that, then he would lose control and you have to watch the entire cutscene of the elevator coming down.
And Limes actually manages to avoid getting shot, even though like it really doesn't matter. There's not much time to lose to the elevator as long as you're right there. So now they're starting with, well, not quite yet, but they'll be starting with bomb disposal very shortly, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that both of these guys are going to use the clockwise route.
Yes, they should be, yes. To my knowledge, at least. Yeah,
And
that's kind of like the tutorial section of the plan. There's a lot of like rehashing and like, go to the node in order to turn on the radar, or go into hanging mode. So a lot of this is just rehashing tutorial stuff. So this first part of the plant is just codec calls and like cutscenes until we reach Peter Stillman, then the actual plant section kind of begins.
Yeah. And both these guys should be running on at least New Game Plus to be able to skip the Stillman scenes. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for a length of time.
That'd be a really bad time loss, but yeah. Both these guys, I believe, are on New Game Plus. Oh, and another difference is that I believe on Seoul US, you do not get the sunglasses perk of New Game Plus 2, I believe. They only added that into the PAL and JP versions onward. So if you have New Game Plus 2, you will not have sunglasses. I believe so. I could be wrong. Yeah, you do not get sunglasses, which is a shame because they look pretty cool.
They're all right. So, yep, Plywood is just now starting on the BC connecting bridge, and as soon as he gets into Strut C, more or less, we're going to be heading into the bomb disposal. Which there's a couple of things that's worth mentioning with that. Like I said, they're going to be going for the clockwise bomb route, which is a primarily a lethal route. They'll be using the newly gained SOCOM to take out any obstacles in their way, as well as distraction shots and other such methods.
Yeah, you pretty much skip the M9, but interesting is that for the Soul version, you actually kind of want the M9 for the PSG-1T for the very end of the game for a specific glitch, which Plywood's talked about skipping the M9 and grabbing the PSG-1T, but I'm not sure. But you would usually grab it on the way to Fat Man, so be on the lookout for there and see what happens there, because I'm interested to see if he's going to grab the PSG-1T or the M9 for the end game.
So yeah, the cutscenes in question have in fact been skipped. There's no need to think about it so much anymore. And off they go. So they're going to be following Snake across the CD bridge, and I know Strut D has a fairly interesting strategy for clockwise route. Can you kind of talk us through it?
Well, there's a couple of different ways to go about it. I'm not too sure what Plywood's doing or what D-Limes is doing, but essentially there are two ways that the track can go. Either you can get out there without a caution, or you'll have a caution to go out there and... Oh, you take an alert here? See, I've never seen this before, so this might be a new optimization that I've never seen. So taking the alert, going into evasion, and then I guess going into caution because they don't check this downstairs area. Yep, they're both doing the same strat. Okay, yeah, I've never seen this before.
Yeah, and they're aiming for the corners of those bombs because it'll actually freeze the bomb faster with how many facets you're hitting it with the coolant. It's not solely based on proximity, which is kind of weird, but it's one of those MGS2 things that you get used to.
Yeah. Crouching in and like aiming towards the corner is preferred.
So they're carrying this alert the entire way down, straight into Strut E. I'm trying to piece together what this would accomplish. There's no real mini cutscenes, and the alert will get scrubbed as soon as they reach the heliport.
Yeah.
So maybe I
think it's just getting the fast Strut D.
Yeah.
Is just the whole trade-off, and like you just take the alert and you just take a little bit of a time loss at the DE bridge, but for an ultimately faster Strut D, I think is the main benefit here.
Yeah. So up on the heliport, bomb they got to take care of is underneath the Harrier, and there's not too much you can do differently here to speed it up. One of the main things is just proper movement, really. Making sure you're not bonking into anything, keeping more or less straight lines, and of course that nice little cartwheel into prone to get that bomb just as quickly as possible. And of course, D-Lime's there also showing off the coolant rising, which is a fantastic tool for moving quickly. Basically, you equip the coolant and uncrouch and unequip the coolant, and you're instantly standing. And free motion. Plywood coming down the EF bridge now. Now the route going south across the EF bridge is much less scary than the route going north. That bridge is full of claymores, and knowing where they are is very important for both not getting an unintentional alert, and also for not blowing up and wasting time that way. Limes actually takes a slightly different approach to it, which that was very interesting. You know, both runners throwing out a chaff to avoid getting an alert after arousing the suspicion of the guard. And another chaff across this FA bridge. Very nicely done. Lots of tiny little movement optimizations across the entire way. Like we were mentioning, the cartwheeling. Anytime there's a decent stretch of straight way. And Plywood missing the hold up, but thankfully for him, he goes back and ensures that won't be a problem. And more coolant rising. And with careful positioning, you can actually freeze the bomb in strut A, the pump room, from behind, as Plywood just demonstrated. And Limes will also be trying for this. I believe he's got the good positioning. Yeah, he's quite all right. So Limes has a caution, whereas Plywood does not. Plywood very nearly catching an alert there. Take care of that before it becomes a problem. So across the game, there's going to be some codec calls that you cannot actually just avoid coming out of loading zones. So in order to take those as soon as possible, you hold select to buffer the input, and it'll take the call immediately as soon as you gain control. And both of our runners in strut B, very, very similar timing. They're very, very close. And the strut B strat requires this alert in order to move optimally throughout the rest of this bomb disposal. And they'll be heading into strut C to take out that last bomb, and then they'll be making their way down to Fortune. So strut C bomb, that's in the bathroom, just up across, up on the ceiling. But first, they're gonna make a quick detour to grab the sensor B to set that story flag to on, I suppose. So as soon as they walk out of strut C, they're gonna have their timer pop up, and they'll be on to the very, very last bomb. Not of the game, but at least of this section. So Plywood very very intentionally keeping 3 rounds into SOCOM to take out of that cipher, just to avoid an unnecessary alert. He has now emptied out his mag for that, which will allow him to do iframe abuse on Fortune should he so pursue to do so. Lime still has 3 rounds left, so he has some little leeway here and there. And I don't think he does iframes regardless. So on their way down to the deep sea dock, they're more or less just trying to path as optimally as possible, keeping the cartwheels in mind, keeping what corners they need to take, when, where, how, all that sort of thing. And again, another case of buffering the codec is on this elevator. They can pick up Stillman's last call as soon as they reach the point, because there's no other inputs that the game will accept at this point. So just hold the select button and it'll come up immediately. Plywood still maintaining a very, very small lead as he heads toward the submarine and the big bomb. Looks like you finished with about 3:42 left on the clock. And Limes is looking fairly similar here. Yep, coming out of that with a 3:44 on the clock. So again, these two are very, very close. Limes making up some couple of seconds there on the trek down to the deep sea dock. But now they're both into the fortune fight, which is a very interesting fight in that you can't actually fight her normally. You have to just stand around and wait for her to destroy enough of the room. So first up, they're going to be just waiting for her to kill the forklift. And then Plywood taking a shot. And pretty sure that was intentional, otherwise he would have moved. Yeah, at this point it's all about... actually, it's all about lag reduction in the PS2 version. Because in the PS2 version, the flames are all sorts of trouble for the frame rate. So keeping yourself kind of like GoldenEye, you want to be aiming towards walls, floors, anything that's not on fire, basically. And Limes, a very interesting optimization. He is actually getting out of first-person view for every shot that Fortune takes.
Alright, I'm back.
Welcome back.
There are many expletives that I'd like to describe my internet, but not now. Alright, so what I missed? What's going on?
You missed a fairly good bomb disposal from both of these guys, and they're just coming out of Fortune. So
Looks like they're both fairly close to each other.
oh yes.
D-Limes close the gap.
Yep. Limes has pretty well closed in on Plywood there. Just tiny little things he's been doing here and there. And Limes is very, very good with the little optimizations. He's an all around a very, very good speedrunner of MGS2 in all of its incarnations. He's also fairly new, so if anyone was looking to learn this game, it's a little tougher now with Limes around, but using Limes as an example, you can make it work.
Yeah, for sure. And whenever we say new, he's only been doing this for... Actually, let me check and see how long he has been doing this, but...
It's right around 6 months.
At most a year. Yeah, at the most it's probably been a year, but let me go to his profile and I'll dig up some info.
So now both these guys are going to be grabbing the M9, Plywood, heading for that, after spraying the guard down with the coolant. And then it's a really simple matter of just getting out of Strut F. No issues there for either runner. And of course, like I said earlier, the EF bridge is a little tough, but it's made a little less tough by picking up that first Claymore, which is also going to play into the Fat Man boss fight. They can skip a knockdown with that.
Very useful, and that was recently found by Iridescence, so good on that. And also just looked up, and his first speed run was 8 months ago.
8 months ago.
Looks like this was Easy Emulator on Twin Snakes, and also he did some Metal Gear Solid 2 VR missions, which I didn't even know. Started out doing VR as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
So both of our racers coming up on the Fat Man fight, and like we said earlier, the bomb to trigger the fight is not on the heliport. It's actually just kind of sitting in between all the shipping containers.
Pretty nice time save.
So here we go. What they're going to try and do is, on the first cycle of knockdown, they're going to try and plant a Claymore in Fat Man's path, and then take a couple of shots with the SOCOM, taking out that first bomb on the right side. And by going to the right side, they're actually guaranteeing that Fat Man will come up to the north side of the arena. Whereas if you took the left bomb, there's a 50-50 shot he'll either go where you want him to, or he'll stick around down to the south.
Oh no, and looks like Plywood's having a little bit of a tough time here. Kind of got a little bit away from him, and so it looks like D-Limes is probably going to finish this fight faster.
Yeah, Limes has in fact pulled ahead by a fairly significant margin, and also, ooh, that one's rough.
The collar shot, yeah. Fat Man's bomb suit collar is very tall, so it can sometimes get in the way. Very unfortunate.
Either way, pretty good fight from both of these guys. They're still very, very close, and there's still plenty of time for Plywood to come back from that. So, moving Fat Man out of the way, taking out that bomb, and now they'll be heading off once more to Strut F to pick up an AK to finish out a disguise that some random cyber ninja just decides to give to you.
And they talk for about 30 minutes, so there's going to be a lot of cutscenes here. Just a lot of just mashing X and double tapping triangle through this section. But yeah, essentially we're going to be going to Strut F, grabbing the AK, finishing our disguise, because he hands us the uniform that they only wear inside of Shell 1 core, but it will have some uses later. At least I think in normal. I think they still use it a little bit other than just in Shell 1, but for the other difficulties, it is very useful later on as well, as kind of semi-camouflage, because for whatever reason, the guard's visions will be lowered whenever you're wearing it, even whenever you're outside of the core.
So just coming out of that big block cutscenes, going to do some. Well, that's less menuing than I was expecting, but yeah, they got a menu over to the BDU.
Yep, no box here, so just the BDU and that's it.
So, and the BDU is not only useful for getting into the Shell 1 core, but it's also going to be useful a little later on after that as well. So it's a very good item to have, and it's great that the game just kind of gives it to you.
Yeah, and also, as a kind of side note, during the end game, they actually give you the BDU during the Solidus fight because he has fire trails and you can catch on fire, and that kind of takes out the fire.
Yeah. It's a good life lesson. If you're on fire, just change your clothes. You'll be fine. So, Limes first the AK. Gonna go ahead and equip that immediately, and also pick up some stun grenades for Tengu 1, if I had to guess.
Yes.
And you can make some very tight rolls in the room with the AK without getting caught up on walls, but Plywood opting for the first, but opting out of the second one.
Yeah, like, rolling is nice, but if you roll bad, it can actually lose you a fair bit of time, especially like if you roll into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always the best to roll. Sometimes it's better just to try and have good movement without rolling.
Yeah. All right, so Limes has made it into the Shell 1 core. He's going to knock that guy over so he can hopefully get a caution going into the room with the directional mic.
And there he goes. There's the caution.
Yep. Very well done.
Plywood will do the same.
Hey, don't worry about it. That was me all of earlier.
No. Now, pretty much ultimately, this doesn't save too much time. It's like maybe a second, if that, but you can squeeze in a little bit more rolls, and I can't remember if on this version you get the Running Man cutscene or not.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, yeah, so that saves about a second or so, because those mini cutscenes take about half a second.
All right, so both players now have their directional mic. They're going to go find Ames, which is completely, for all intents and purposes, random. We don't know where he's going to be. So,
now
there's
for
another
B1,
point.
though, very important to only press X once for this cutscene skip. And also, due to the caution, I forgot about this, but due to the caution, also, you get a fast grab here, because for whatever reason, it shows them running away, but on the other versions, this wouldn't happen, so this is a benefit of having a caution as well.
Plywood taking a slightly different approach. Limes knocked on the retinal scanner to get the guy's attention, whereas Plywood just waited for him to turn around and picked him up right then and there.
Yeah, there's some specific spot I think that you can just immediately choke him and he'll immediately go to the scanner. So I think that's what he was going for, but didn't get it.
And Lime's getting kind of an average aim. Not great, not horrible. Let's see what Plywood here gets.
Oh, Plywood
Ooh,
knocked
wow.
knocked into him, and it's gonna take him. Oh no!
Oh no!
Plywood has to be very careful.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a pretty big time loss here.
That's
Yeah, so
unfortunate.
again, cartwheeling does save you time, but if Ames is right here, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so rolling into Ames does kind of like knock him out almost. Like you have to wait in order to actually interact with him because like you can actually say stuff. Oh, and then again earlier I'd mentioned right here you have to wait 10 seconds, so nothing really to do.
Yeah, another one of those funny little SOL things.
Yeah. Thankfully they fixed that in the PAL and in a JP version where you don't have to wait. Just for whatever reason in the US version you have to wait. I don't know
Yeah,
why. Just strange.
but then you also get the IGT weirdness with the US version. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
pick your poison, really.
and Plywood showing off his matching skills with the right here is going lightning fast.
It's all that Twin Snakes vent crawling.
Oh yeah, the vent crawling.
What is it? 13 times a second? Or not quite that much, but
No, it's like maybe 8 to 9 times, but still. And looks like Limes did grab the M9. Let's see what did Plywood grab the M9 since I wasn't here for. Actually, no, I was here for that, but I just wasn't paying attention. I guess did he grab the M9?
mm-hmm.
Okay, because he's always like joked about using the PSG-1T for the end game, and I'm calling him crazy. So I guess he was just joking after all.
All right. So Plywood opting to take out the caution guard with the M9, whereas Limes took out one of the patrolling guards instead and rolled through the caution. So little tiny differences here and there between the preference. High-fiving each other going across the EF bridge again. Limes has his PSG-1 now, and Plywood's picking it up for himself. And they're going to be heading to the Shell 1-2 connecting bridge. Plywood.
He got shot anyway. He was trying not to get shot there.
Yeah. Plywood's aim is that tiny little bit off. And that's the sort of thing that can happen sometimes.
Now, one thing that could pull Plywood back is a Harrier, because I think for his PB he had the best Harrier that you can possibly get, and I think practicing before this he actually had a really good Harrier as well. So if he gets a good Harrier, then that could maybe pull him back in the lead.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time to come back. Like I was saying, Harrier is one exceptional point of possible return. The Rays, as always, just that and any sort of little tiny mistakes that Limes makes, Plywood can capitalize on.
And probably the biggest mistake right now would be for him to blow up the bridge, but shouldn't be happening. But
I have faith in both of. I have faith in both of our guys to perform under pressure here.
All right, very clean sniping section, and another little strat difference here is that I think Plow's gonna be using the AK for a couple of those. And starting off with the Harrier fight with Limes. See if he goes for the 5-shot. Looks like he is going for it. And
Yeah,
Or
he
just the
got it.
5-shot. Nice.
And he's going for the 5+1.
That
It
looks
looks
good.
like, yeah, it looks like he might have that.
Yep,
Yep.
okay, he got the 5+1, okay. So, that was like the first hard part of the fight. Now the rest of it is just making sure he behaves for the rest of the fight, because after these 2 shots here, you have to flip over. And it looks like the second one did miss.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
But now Solidus is going to let him go out in style. He's going to grab 2 shots here. Meanwhile, Plywood's starting out. He's got his first 3 locked up. There's number 5. Got that. And he's also going to go try for the 5+1 here. And he may have that. Yes. So very good start for both of our guys. Limes is going to finish up with that shot there. Plywood doing his die shots. Got 1. And he's got
That's
2.
the second one. Okay, so slightly ahead of D-Limes in that regard, but D-Limes is still ahead. Very few mistakes, so probably just needs to finish off the fight in order to just gain a little bit more time and just get closer to him. And actually popping out with the AK, which is rather interesting, because I tried doing that myself, and it just feels really weird.
Yeah. It's understandable. And
Aww,
missed the hook shot, but that's alright. He's still...
wide. Yeah.
He actually no-scoped that one.
Yeah,
That was
and
brilliant.
no lock-on. So, I guess one thing that I forgot to mention is that for the lock-on for this game, locking on caused it to actually travel faster and a little bit farther as well. So, doing a non-lock-on is not really recommended.
Yeah, and if you tend to miss, or if you manage to miss one of those, you're going to be waiting a hot minute for that thing to explode so you can fire again.
Yep. So, and leap of faith. All right.
Yep.
One of Plywood's most hated sections is the perimeter. He seems to always find some way to have something go wrong during this little section right here, so hopefully he makes it through. It's like D-Limes is going through there pretty smoothly.
Yeah, looks like Plywood's okay for now. He avoided the really unfortunate railing. No, yeah, he's good to go. No alerts. And Lime's making his way into the Shell 2 core here. Where we're actually going to, in barely any time at all, we're going to see the first instance of the elevator clip.
Oh yes, elevator clip is probably the most remarkable thing about this version. It not only makes grabbing the Nikita faster, but it also makes swim glitch just not even something that you'd go for. It's actually faster than the swim glitch itself.
Yeah.
And also for the Nikita location, it is actually in a pretty easy location on Seoul, US. It's actually just straight down the hall.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something that shook me up the first few times I played HD Collection. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't the Nikita there?
Yeah, trying to like, look for it, like, where is it? Oh, it's all the way over here in this corner here. Then again, for the PAL and the GP versions, they fixed it to where it's in that location that you'll see it. Just this one specific version, for whatever reason, just has it right there. And as we see now, D-Lime's going prone and doing some punches and getting cartwheel straight down this little hallway here. Now, he is still underwater technically, so he can't take too long because his O2 gauge is dropping, but this is way faster than swimming, so...
Oh, yes.
And he's going to go up the stairs, down the stairs, and back up the stairs again, so... It's always a little interesting one.
And of course, you get that fantastic close-up of Raiden as he's gracefully cartwheeling underwater down the hallway. MGS2 is fantastic, y'all.
Grabbing the stinger, so wonder. I'm gonna watch D-Limes here for a second, see what he does. I think he's gonna use the stinger on the gun camera. Yep.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so taking out that first gun camera and then letting it fly makes this pretty easy. And it looks like Plywood is doing alright. He got Nikita, he's just trying to swim back up. Opting to do as many as right now. Interesting. Guess he's gonna wait for a cartwheel on the next floor, and I have D-Lams talking to the president.
Yeah, and that's something we didn't really mention is that our guys are trying to do most of their item and weapon management while in midair.
Yeah. Doing it while cartwheeling is pretty ideal, and you can do it while you're walking, but it's a little bit more precise and less ideal. Pretty much the only time that we really do that is for Tengu 1. Menu into the stun and throwing it and try to get it to where you don't lose your momentum, but... Ooh, probably getting a very tight roll onto those stairs. I thought he was going to fall over. And D-Lams here is just finishing up cutscenes, and Plywood is just beginning, so we're not too far behind. And with the first fight of Vamp here on the Soul version, we're going to be going for the lethal strat with the Stinger missile launcher, so that's going to be pretty interesting because that can go wrong if your timing is a little bit off, and it's a pretty bad time loss. So another chance for Plywood to kind of inch forward here. Another thing to mention is that for the elevators in this game, if you're ever having trouble remembering, just press up once and you're good to go. You'll never have to press down at all. If you just press up once, you'll always go to the right area.
Yeah, it's a real treat trying to go back to MGS1 after playing MGS2 for so long.
Oh yeah, MGS1 you have to like remember like, okay, do I go up or down? Like, there's so much more thought process behind the actual part there, but for MGS2 it's just simple, just press up.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see there, going out of bounds and going up the invisible staircase to the vamp door room. And let's see how D-Limes handles Vamp 1.
Lime's opting to shoot at the water instead of at Vamp himself makes it slightly easier. You don't have to quite track him as if you were aiming at the body. Very nicely done. 10 shots, all it takes.
Yep. The only thing that Plywood could maybe do to try and save time over that is to start a little bit earlier, because D-Limes did walk up and then take his time to take his first shot, so... But I mean, that's kind of splitting hairs at this point. So we'll see how Plywood handles this fight. A bit faster on the start. Also aiming towards the water as well. Oh no! Oh, he shot too early. Oh no.
Nah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a really big time loss there. Shot
Yeah.
a little too early.
So the cue for taking a shot on console is to wait for his health to start actually decreasing.
Oh, he
And
did it again. This is very unlike him. He's usually very good at this fight. This is like one of his better fights. This is very not like Plywood.
yeah, it's a very, very tight timing. It gets a little easier as the fight goes on because the smoke starts piling up, the frames start dropping a little bit, and you can kind of gauge better when you should be taking a shot. But at the same time, it also has the risk of dropping those inputs at the same time.
And third time's the charm, and he finally gets it. So D-Limes has a pretty sizable lead right now, I'd say. So it's getting to the point where Plywood may want to start worrying and maybe going for some more riskier strats to just kind of inch ahead a little bit. It's getting kind of a big gap as they high-five each other again.
Yeah, so I don't think either of these guys are going to go for the teleportation because loading times are going to take too long on PS2.
D-Limes confirmed that it takes like 7 more seconds to do the teleportation, or the teleportation, excuse me.
Yeah.
It takes about 7 more seconds longer, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Plywood go for the bump, although I don't know if he's ever done the bump before. But that could be a decent time save.
Yeah, maybe.
Implying that D-Limes does not go for the bump himself, so we'll have to see how that plays out. That'll be a very interesting time save because if he fails it and if for whatever reason does not do it correctly, then it's pretty much game over. But yeah, don't know if Plywood is even watching the stream and like knows his like pace right now. That's another thing. He may not even know what his pace is compared to Lime, so he may just be playing as though he's in the lead and not trying to do things too risky.
Yeah, and we're getting a taste of the beautiful cinematic frame rate of MGS2 PS2 swimming.
Oh yeah, it's just the frame rate just drops here, and swimming just makes it a little bit more slower and yeah. So as D Limes is going to be ending swimming, Plywood will be beginning.
And of course, Emma does not like bugs, so we're just going to
just gonna carry her over here just to help her out.
we're not going to give her the opportunity to complain.
Yeah, just gonna just carry her over there gracefully.
Yeah, very gracefully.
Tell you some of the coloring for Soul, just it's like slightly different compared to HTC, and I actually prefer a lot of the coloring on the wall, like in the elevators, like more blue.
Mm.
I don't know, just like some of the colors are better here, and like in HTC they're slightly washed out. But I've been noticing that more and more as I watch Souls, that some of the colors are a bit different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd have to imagine that's something to do with the upscaling.
Oh yeah, for sure. D-Lime's not having the greatest of exits here. He had to trank the guy a couple more times than he liked to, so.
Yeah, Plywood got a little hung up on a door frame. It looked like he was gonna.
Yeah, it looks like he almost went into the mine. I started to hold my breath for a second. For my eye, I saw that. So.
But he managed to avoid that. He also manages to avoid drowning as he's finished with the swim.
Oh no, he's going for the bump. Oh, he's just trying to just pull
Limes,
ahead.
Limes always goes for that bump. Doesn't matter what kind of setting he's in, he goes for it.
So Lime's trying to put the nail in the coffin because he is watching the stream because he has chatted it like a couple times. So he's trying to put the nail in the coffin, trying to just increase his lead to where it's almost possible for him to actually lose it. But
yeah, well,
he's not too far back. So
he had that disgraceful display just there of not even looking at the hole in one.
Yep.
He didn't even try. Come on, man. But he is very, very close to the end of this escort. All he's got left is one more room of guards to take care of, and then he's on to the sniping, which is a nice 9 minutes of relaxing nothing. And
no,
Plywood parking himself right on top of Emma. She falls over. That's rough.
that doesn't help.
But he does get the fast hands off of that, so.
Oh. Did he call?
I don't think he had the opportunity to.
Okay, good. Oh, I think he'll be okay though.
Yeah, he should be fine.
I don't know if he'll go for the bump now. I mean.
No, he's gonna go for it.
Oh, okay.
Looks like he got it.
Looks okay. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
he got it. Okay.
All right.
Everything's fine.
And
don't even worry about
it. Grab too. He got the fast hand grab. Nice.
Plywood is a champion at grabbing hands.
Plywood, the hand holding expert here. Fast hand grabs, very optimal.
Doesn't quite get the hole in one either, but it looked like he gave it more of an effort than Limes did.
So, also get the red thermal goggles here, which is
infinitely better than the Technicolor ones.
Well, the Technicolor ones are like more accurate. This is a little bit easier on the eyes, is what it comes down to. Really, it's just this one's a little bit easier to look at.
I don't know, Roy, but I certainly am. I've never liked them.
They're all right. They're not great, but I prefer red. But I'm not bothered by them per se. And Plywood just... Oh, okay, didn't didn't kill that guy.
That's
Had to wait for him to get back up. That's a bit of a faster strat to just kill them rather than trank them. But unfortunately, we're losing a little bit more time here. Another fast hand grab. Look at that. I've never gotten a fast hand grab with that before.
Plywood has done the science and knows the optimal way to hold
The
hands.
optimal angle to hold hands. He has the rod has been optimized for hand hold percent.
I'm surprised we haven't made that a category extension, honestly.
Hand hold percent, just hold her hand.
The escort. How fast can you do the escort?
Oh god.
So Lime's about halfway through his sniping. Plywood just beginning. There's not a whole lot these guys can do to speed this up. As long as they as long as they keep up on everyone, make sure Emma doesn't get spotted. They should be out of here the same time every time. I think Lime's doing some GoldenEye right now. I don't know if there's many frame drops in this area in specific, but
I don't think so, but one thing that has happened is whenever I was doing this and like looking straight up, is that for whatever reason she decided to actually fall over while I was in first person view looking straight up and doing punch kicks. So I guess he's just trying to pass the time because this section is pretty boring. There's not a lot going on.
yeah. I'm wondering if Emma has the potential to fall over if you punch kick in first person and for that split second while you're looking at her while rotating around. Because that would be kind of hilarious, but also really, really unfortunate. So yeah, not a whole lot to say here. Very, very simple pattern recognition. As long as you've got the patterns down, you're pretty much golden. We'll admit though that this is the best song in this soundtrack.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like once you start, doing this whole like mission with the escort, the song is really nice and very soothing. It's just unfortunate that it's locked behind this section, and that's a very interesting angle that D-Limes is having here, just staring up at the ladder. I haven't really seen that one before.
Would you take no for an answer? No one is opting to snipe birds with the M9. I'm very disappointed. So Limes should be just about ready to get on out of this section very shortly here.
Yeah, he's just patiently waiting because not a lot of claymores, and he already took them all out, so he's just patiently waiting.
Very interesting technique on Plywood's end. Standing on his tiptoes while looking up. And I can't quite tell is... Oh, there we go. Okay. I was getting kind of worried there for a second. But no, Limes is in the fight now. He's going to be aiming for the leg and just... there you go.
Rip his leg. Lime's finishing up and heading into the Shell 1 core to start the end game. While patiently waiting for Map to show up.
Yep. Oh, and proof positive that no matter what version of the game you're playing, you can always get those silly little seam crouches.
Yeah.
It's such a frustrating way to lose time too, because you're just running, you're trying to cartwheel, and then all of a sudden you're lying down. It's like, okay, really? But Lime's making his way into the Shell 1 court. Easy peasy. All he's got left is the Arsenal gear bit to really worry about. And Plywood should be coming up to Vamp here in just a few seconds. Staring off into base. And just as easy, there you go. Vamp 2 done. So for Limes, at the first little torture sequence, doesn't really have to touch a button. You just wait it out, and Plywood taking a tumble on those stairs. Unfortunate. It is faster to roll up the last little set of stairs, but sometimes if you're a little too premature on the roll, that can happen. But yeah, the torture is really, really simple. In fact, so simple you don't have to touch a button, like I said. Whoa!
Oh god, that was close. Those panels are a little too close for my taste, and probably for his taste too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Plywood had made a noise similar to mine.
Yeah, that was a little too close for comfort.
But he's now in Arsenal gear himself. Still a very close race. Still a potential for Rays to throw a wrench in the works, but
D-Limes is known for his really good ray execution, so something really wrong would have to happen for that to be of a factor, but I think Plywood has more of a chance to pull back in Tengu 1 and Tengu 2.
also
Tengu
very
2,
true.
yeah. And perhaps Solidus, because I think Plywood has a little bit of a better Solidus, so a bit of a trade-off.
It's been a while, hasn't it, Jack the Ripper?
So Limes once again going to be buffering his codec there in order to
Know this fellow?
slip past the first guard,
You remember me, don't you?
and he's going to be taking the upper path to avoid the rest of the patrolling Tengu.
It's going to be very important that he's going to try to roll into this next Tengu coming up here before the alert actually happens, to then delay the alert, because we will take an alert here. He's got to... Oh, does a punch and a roll, and has to walk over him, so a bit of a time loss, and gets the alert fairly earlier than he'd like. As long as he
Still
doesn't get hit too
managing.
many times.
He only took one and a kick.
Oh.
That's not so good, but the one shot was pretty good.
So, Plywood has time save for Jejunum for sure. If he just doesn't get knocked down.
You can't keep this up. They're bound to find you.
Listen, I'll free you in a little while. Brace yourself.
So now Lime's just waiting, displaying Raiden in all his glory. So there are 5 calls from Campbell, and then the 6th one would be for Rose, which is the one that'll actually get him out of here. Well, not even out of here, but out of this particular wait.
Yeah, the only thing that you really need to do is you need to be kind of at the northern part of this tunnel. It's really the only thing that is really factoring into it, because if you go towards like the south end, then it's just going to be random calls after random call, and you'll be really confused. And then you have to slash the sword at least once, and then the timer ticks down, because the game actually wants you to actually practice with the sword, so if you don't slash the sword, you cannot progress.
Yep.
And
So-
Plywood getting a much cleaner roll.
Yeah. Didn't quite stumble on the body as much as Limes. We'll have to see how this last Tengu treats him, though. He gets shot once, and
Oh,
also gets
no,
knocked
the
over.
Same. Ugh. See, like getting hit twice wouldn't have been bad, but the knockdown just made it worse.
It's unfortunate.
And as Plywood enters, D-Limes leaves, heading towards Tengu 1. Now this trick is also used on the HD collection and the other versions as well, where we can actually skip the fight by using stuns to stun the Tengus and can actually progress forward to where they are knocked out, and we can just go to the door and look in first-person view, do a punch kick, and then release at a certain time, and we'll be able to just go to the load zone to the next fight. And
Very well
well
timed
done.
stun. Yeah.
Yeah, for that last one, you want to wait for that guy on the left-hand side to just walk over a little bit, because if you do it too early, then you'll actually start to be aggroed towards him, and that's really bad.
So these guys are going to be trying for the coolant skip for Tengu 2 here. Much more consistent on the PS2 version. Just knock out Snake and then start going to town with the coolant. You want to catch as many of the Tengu as possible in your coolant spray. And just kind of sweep back and forth.
And the main benefit of this is that you can do this on any difficulty, whereas for the HD collection and substance versions, you can really only skip the fight using a different method on Extreme and European Extreme. So a lot of benefits to this as well, that you can do this on normal, very easy, doesn't matter.
And it just looks really silly on top of everything.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of like waving. Almost like a dance party or something, all just dancing. Eventually you'll start to see the alert bar go down, and then it'll just end the fight.
Yeah, and you wanna get your setup really quickly, because in normal, Snake will wake up rather soon. And if he wakes up and starts shooting at things, it's not a good look.
Ooh.
Plywood having a little bit of a trouble.
He can maybe. I'm not sure if this is salvageable at this point, unless he gets the AK.
Yeah, the AK would be his way of doing things.
No,
He's
the
waiting for
body's
Snake.
In the way. The body's in the way. Oh, okay. Oh. Yeah, this is what I was talking about with the aggro. Having it like this, just makes things very challenging.
There we go.
Okay, he finally got it. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
rough,
unfortunate.
but he still made
with
it
the
out
sun
of there.
setup, you don't have too much room for error, so if you mess up, it can get pretty nasty. That's the only downside to it, really.
So Plywood also hitting for the Tengu 2 skip, while Limes just kind of waiting for the raise to begin. Also, another really nice thing about the PS2 thermals is that you kind of get a crosshair on your screen for free. So Limes now into the Ray fight. As Plywood mentioned earlier, they're only gonna have to take out 5 of these things instead of 8. But of course, they've got to be aware of the iframes. Limes going very smoothly through the first 3. kind of delaying that last shot until the Ray tries to jump on stage, just so he can avoid that. And there's a prime example of the iframes being a nuisance.
Surprise when Ocelot discovered the S3 data from GW. Not a bad idea, though. Using fire to fight fire, creating the perfect assassin to retire Solid Snake's brother.
Plywood striking an action pose. Nice little after images there with thermal goggles. I like it. And Lime's still very, very methodically making his way through the rays here. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you actually do have to destroy the rays for PS2. You can't just do the HD version where you just knock out as much health as possible. And Lime's finished up as Plywood is shortly to begin here.
Those days during the Civil War were as real as they come. Every day was absolute. Split between life and death.
So Limes is actually just about to get started on the actual torture. All hail red thermals, he says. So, this torture is not particularly difficult. It's not too long, not too hard on the finger or the arm, however you end up doing it. And Plywood is starting his ray fight using the same setup, pausing on that last shot so he can cartwheel through the ray landing on stage so he doesn't get stumbled. Very, very nice start. Very clean. And his first three are done.
You see also Lime starting up on the Solidus fight as well. So I think it's safe to say that unless something goes terribly wrong, I think Limes has this.
Yeah, it's looking like. That being said, still a very, very close race. Very nicely done
sure.
from both guys.
Very entertaining and a lot of potential comebacks from Plywood, but unfortunately the Vamp one screw up just set him back a little bit too far.
Yeah. But that's kind of the risk with the lethal Vamp strategy, is that yes, it's faster than the non-lethal by a significant margin, but it's also that much easier to kind of mess up.
Are you awake yet, Jack?
So Limes starting up on Solidus.
The Arsenal AI.
Looks like he's just going to go for the missile loop.
I admit that I underestimated you.
And it's a really simple, really quick way of doing the fight. There are faster, but this one is very, very consistent. You don't really have to worry about too much. All it is minding your spacing, rolling in at the right time, and just landing your shots.
Now he was trying to go to the middle of the battlefield in order to get a short dash, but did not get it, unfortunately. But it's only about a second of time loss.
What do you hope to hear? You know he doesn't know anything.
It's not him I want the answers from.
So for the second phase, he's looking for those elbows, as many as he can possibly get, because anything else will end up wasting some time. And that's solid. Yeah, very well done from Limes. I don't personally know what the kind of timing is for IGT versus RTA for this game.
I used to know off the top of my head, but oh wait, actually, I have a command for it in my chat. Let me go to my chat real quick and let me do that, because I think I have a command that explains the difference. I'm trying to remember what. I think it was exclamation point IGT. I'm gonna try that right now. Nightbot, save me. 7.5 minutes.
All right, so
There we go.
that's a very, very good run from both ends, really.
Yeah, for sure. Also, let me just check on speedrun.com for the RTA and see if this could potentially be a record. I'm not sure if it can. This record is a 115 flat.
And no, the credits are the same length, but the U.S. Sons of Liberty release is has got a discrepancy between IGT and RTA because I believe load times aren't counted.
It's either load times or it's the final movie sequence with like all the cutscenes. I don't think that's counted. I'm not exactly sure. I think people like DLMs are looking into PS2 emulator and trying to see where exactly the IGT stopped ticking, so we actually know.
Mm-hmm. And Plywood in Phase 2. Again, gotta be looking for those people's elbows as much as he can. Granted, you can't really do anything about it. You just kind of have to hope. Solidus already not giving him much.
Now, Plywood is doing a slightly faster Solidus method where he's doing a loop similar to the other versions, but unfortunately gets knocked down there. But you essentially slash him twice, and then you'd slash him on his other side, but unfortunately he hits him rather than having him block. So there's more prone for mess ups here, but it is ultimately faster, and with that, Plywood is now complete.
Yeah, again, very, very nice run from both guys. But very entertaining to see the differences that are present between versions of the game.
Of course. This is where we first met. I remember.
Sons of Liberty, very, very fun to watch, as it turns out.
Yeah, for sure, a lot of back and forth, and for the most part, it was a very close race. So, good job to both the runners.
Absolutely.
Do you want to try and pull D-Limes in for an interview?
Yeah, well, they're both already in the channel. They're just
yeah, that's right. They're already here.
They're already here.
Well, if you want to reveal yourself.
I think I found something to pass along to the future.
What?
Cartwheeling in a hostage room is dumb.
He said
I say it's dumb, it's just risky.
their genes to live on.
Are you talking about the baby?
That's part of the really reason why I don't really do it too much.
The genes aren't the only
Unless I can like see straight ahead and I see like they're all
Too many things that aren't
not
connected
aims.
to our DNA. It's up to us to teach that to our children
What kind of things?
about the environment.
Well, whenever you guys are ready, you can unmute, undeafen, and all that.
Hello, hello.
The boys.
Hello.
Hello.
GG's, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw that Ames kerfuffle.
See,
That
D-Limes
was
was watching. Were
I
you watching
learned
the stream,
last-
Plywood, at all? Were you watching the stream? And, like, seeing the
I
faces?
was listening to some of it.
Oh, okay, you're listening. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it. I learned last night that the hitbox for getting Ames, if you're right up in his face, it won't work, and if you're too far away, it won't work either. It's not like the other versions.
Really, the hitbox is different on Soul.
Just a
Yeah,
little bit.
it's
Interesting.
weird
That's
because
why when I went with mine, I went face first instead of from the side.
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's a bit different. And the easiest way to tell is just do new game aims, and you'll see like you can't like hit the D mic as far away as you can on
Mhm.
other versions. It's
Yep.
kind of weird. You have to like say you're 2 body lengths away on substance or whatever, 2 to 3, but you can't be that far away. So Very weird. Very weird.
Yeah, and I mean, aside from that, it was a fairly clean run from both of you. It's just minor things here and there. Both of your Harriers were actually spectacular. You both got the 5+1.
Mhm.
Limes, you missed the second die shot. Plywood got it, but there was also some small thing later on that Plywood missed that you had. Like, I think it was the hook shot. It was very, very similar between the two of you, and it was really clean. And Plywood, you were having some trouble with Emma.
Yeah.
Oh, I
that
didn't
was-
see this.
That was really
You're in
funny.
the edge.
I tried something a little bit different since I already knew I was behind, so I wanted to experiment a little bit. And I shouldn't have let go then fired the M9 because she just got knocked over while I was shooting the guard.
Yeah, you have to move up a little bit.
Give a little bit of a gap. Yeah.
Mhm.
And plus, you
So I was
did,
just watching
the
her
bump as
stand
well.
up and wait.
Did you do the bump?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did the bump.
I've never
Nice.
seen him do the bump.
I do the bump all the time now.
He does.
Okay.
No
He's
fear.
great at it. Yep.
No fear.
No fear.
No fear.
No
until
loss.
No fear until it doesn't work, and then you fear.
And then we'll fear.
And the darkness comes.
But hasn't failed yet. I was a bit too jittery with Vamp. It's kind of weird on this version. Like, you have to like, if you want to go really fast with the Vamp 1 kill, you have to modify your shot speed. So like, it starts fast, then it slows down, then it speeds up again at the end. We're talking, very small differences, but that's why I fired too early, and then you're just screwed in the middle shots.
Yeah, my tanker was questionable to say the least. I had a lot of issues early on.
Yeah. So was that one part during whenever you took your alert? Was that intentional? Or
Where?
No. I think it was in deck B, going towards deck A to skip.
No,
the cutscene.
I just missed the guard. I went to bump
Okay.
the guard and it just missed him. I've never had that happen. So
And then going into the engine room bleeding was also very interesting. I think we saw 4 picture-in-picture moments with that, where they were
Right.
looking at the blood. That was very interesting.
yeah, it was not good.
That's why I personally don't go for. I mean, in a PB situation, I get it, but man, it really, you take a lot of damage on Soul since you can't drop over the rail.
Well, I got the roll in deck C. That wasn't the
Okay.
issue. The issue is I
Wait.
just didn't bump into the guard in deck
Oh.
B. I just missed him.
Oh, okay.
So I could have just shot him, but
Yeah, you could have just murked the guy. I had to
Right.
murk some people I did not want to murk, but Strat A, I had to kill both guards. Well, I ended up killing both of them
yeah, the
because I'm
heliport
holding
bomb
up
was
too early.
heliport bomb was too quick, so I had to kill that guard up there. I cartwheeled into him.
But yeah, I almost dethroned D-Limes. I don't think he's
Wow.
lost a race yet. What do you? Wow, it's true. You haven't lost a race in this game yet.
No, wow to the time, how close.
Oh,
Ooh,
Let me see.
1:15:06. Now that's a run.
6 seconds off a
Seconds
record.
off full record.
nice.
Damn.
Yeah, definitely entertaining to watch something not substance.
Right.
Yeah. That being said, there's a lot of substance in this run. There's a lot of substance to it.
Literally and figuratively.
But yeah, no, it was fun. I haven't personally seen a lot of the differences between the two, and so this was kind of a fun experience for me because I have spent the last 3 years or so doing Substance, and I haven't really been paying too much attention too closely to Sons of Liberty.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were reacting to some of this weird soul specific stuff.
Like long ago when I was trying to reroute or quote unquote reroute normal, I had done some research on the run itself, and the run I came across was Zelu X's PS2 run, and I was wondering how the hell do I do that elevator clip? Trying to do it on HTC, and that just won't work. So I kind of had an idea of a few things heading into it, but even so. So yeah, anything else you guys would like to add as we start to wrap up here?
Not really. I mean, that was very entertaining, very fun. I certainly enjoyed it.
I'm a fraud.
Oh, stop.
I'm kidding. This game is a lot of fun on this version, particular just due to its bizarre things to it.
Yeah.
That beat the old record from a week or two ago, that 117.
There you go. Yeah, without that vamp, that would have been probably probably a 116 of similar
I'd say
time.
so.
Yeah, 116-ish, 20. So yeah, it was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job
Again,
on being 4 seconds behind. So close. So close.
So yeah, again, congrats to both of you, and really quickly, shout outs to Mr. PD Precious Roy. If you've noticed, we've got a fancy new layout happening right now.
Very
And
parody.
that is all thanks to the fruits, that is the fruits of Roy's labor. He has been spending some time doing some work with the ESA layouts and came up with this absolutely astounding work of art. So big shout outs to him, as well as for restreaming as well. So I think that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys again for spending your Saturday morning with us here at MGSR. I've been Pythonicus, joined by Tyler, Plywood D-Limes, and of course our restreamer tech guy Roy. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.